Elsie Hedgespeth, the Outreach and Wellness Manager for Urbana Park District, and I'm here again for another Workout Wednesday segment with you. Today, I wanted to cover a quick plank workout. There are so many different variations of planks that can actually serve to work more muscles than just your core. So we're going to go through several of those, but before we even get started warming up, I wanted to go through some plank protocol to help you with your form and just make it a little bit better for you in terms of getting the desired results. So anytime that you're planking, you have several different options in terms of how you can do your arms, and then again, what height you do your planks at, okay? So typically you have two main hand or arm placement options. You can do a full arm plank, which is your hands directly underneath your shoulders, okay? Straight arms here. This can also be done on the knees, just dropping the knees, making sure that the bottom is down, shoulders away from the ears, okay? Core is engaged. So that's one option. Another option, just depending on maybe if the wrist flexion for a full arm plank is too much for you, you can bring it down to the elbows, okay? Anytime you're doing that, you just want to make sure that your elbows are directly underneath your shoulders. All right, again, this can be done on the knees, bottom is dropped, shoulders away from the ears, or you can bring it up to the toes to increase the intensity a little bit. Again, making sure that the bottom is low and shoulders are away from the ears. For that, you'll notice on both of those that my feet were a little bit further apart. They weren't directly right next to one another. And I do that to give myself a little bit of a wider base in which to balance, okay? So just make sure that anytime you're doing a plank, whether it's on the floor, straight arm, elbow plank, that your feet are a little bit further apart, okay? Same thing if you want to elevate your plank, and this is a good option maybe for beginners or someone who's easing back into exercise to make planking a little bit more attainable for you. So I have my chair here. Again, I can do a full arm plank, making sure that shoulders are over hands, okay? And from here, you can come down to the elbows, again, making sure that elbows are underneath shoulders, all right? So those are just a few options. One more housekeeping item in terms of form, actually two. So we're gonna be doing some rotating planks. Anytime that you're switching sides in your plank, you really want to make sure that if you're gonna go on elbows, that your arms are stacked like this in more of an equal sign, because that's going to make it a little bit easier as you rotate to open up and then replace your arm each time. Okay, so stacking the arms that way. Another thing in terms of form, anytime we're working in side planks, so just in those rotating planks, or we will be doing some planks where we're strictly on one side for the duration of the timed exercise, split your feet, okay? So what I mean by that is, I'll demonstrate on the chair. If I'm holding a side plank, rather than trying to stack my feet on top of one another, I'm going to split my stance here and take my feet a little bit further apart, okay? And that's just a good cue for form as well as safety, okay? It's really hard to balance in a side plank when you're only on the thin edge of one foot rather than splitting your stance, okay? So with that being said, we're going to dive into this plank workout. All of the planking exercises are going to be for time. In totality, I believe with the number of planking exercises I have planned, it's gonna be about 3.5 minutes of work, okay? Gonna get a lot of different variety, but in totality, you're really only holding a plank variation for about 3.5 minutes, okay? So let's begin with just a quick warm up, really focusing on warming up the chest, shoulders, and back, because we're engaging those anytime that we're holding a plank, and worried about obviously engaging the core or the midsection, as well as warming up the hip flexors a little bit. So we're going to start with just some body weight squats, feet about hip width apart, chest up, tailbone down. Here we go. 10, 9, driving up through the heels, 8, 7, 6, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Going to backwards lunge a little bit, warming up the hip flexors, but I'm going to add a twist a little bit too to warm up the midsection. So stepping it back, let's lunge, twist in towards the bent knee, and stand back up. Good. Stepping back, twist. Again. This is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, last one here, and 10. Good. Warming up with a little bit more trunk rotation. Take a wider stance, hands on the hips, and we're just going to do some hip circles. Okay? Imagining that your tailbone is maybe a spoon in a pot, and we are stirring the pot. Good. Really working on range of motion here, and switch directions. A few rotations this way. Good. Bringing the feet in a little bit closer together. Inhale up, big stretch through the arms. And extend. Exhale, arms down. Let's do that one more time. Inhale in. And stretch, arching the back just a little bit. Exhale, arms down. Good. Working through some of our planks here. So again, your options, you can do this elevated up on a chair, on the floor, straight arm, bent arm, or even on the knees, okay? I'm gonna demonstrate this first one, straight arm on a chair. We're going for 30 seconds. Let me get my timer set, and it's just a regular plank, okay? So feet about shoulder width apart. We're gonna get started here. Setting your stance, ready, set, go. So again, core is tight, shoulders are down away from the ears, my bottom is dropped, and my core is definitely engaged. Keeping a neutral neck, I'm going to keep looking down just slightly in front of my fingertips so that I'm not straining my neck. We've got less than 10 seconds left already. Good. 3, 2, 1, and release. All right, plank number 2. We've got a rotating plank. I'm going to bring this one down to the ground. All right, so remember, setting up our arms in equal sign, okay? If you don't want to go on the elbows and you want to stick with a straight arm plank, just make sure that you're still splitting your feet, and we're going to rotate all the way open. Little tip on this one, anytime that you're rotating open to the sides, really try and make sure that your chest and your hips are rotating at the same time, okay? That's what's going to keep the core engaged. Getting set up, hands in an equal sign, feet slightly apart, going for 30 seconds. Ready? Here we go. And this one's really more so about control. Again, making sure that those shoulders and hips are rotating together. Opening up to opposite sides of the room. Gently replacing your elbows or your hands each time. Good. Almost there. And release. Good. Those go fast, especially when you're focused on moving slowly and on control. Our third plank variation, we have an alternating knee-in plank. I suggest for this one that you go on straight arm just to give you more room underneath yourself, because basically we're holding, but you're going to be drawing knee into the elbow and then replacing it, okay? If you just don't like straight arm planks and you want to go elbow, okay, or maybe you're down on your knees, okay, then you can try and bring elbow to the outsides of the knees. That's a nice variation there too, because you're opening up the hips a little bit. Okay, so pick your poison on that one, but I'm going straight arm and I'm bringing the knees straight in. 30 seconds, ready, here we go. Again, I'm focusing on control and not speed here. I'm trying to keep my hips very even rather than letting them completely open up. Keeping the bottom low and the core engaged. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and release. We're already over halfway through. Hopefully the core is feeling warm. I know mine is. Yes. I love these. These are some of my favorites. I'll bring it back up to the chair to show you a variation here, because these can be a little challenging, all right? Very tiny move, but a big impact, and you will feel it. Again, this can be done straight arm or on the elbow, but we are going to be holding each side, okay, for 30 seconds. Hip lift plank, so I'll demonstrate. I'm going on the elbow, again, splitting my stance here, trying to make sure that my belly button stays facing you, facing the camera the entire time. Hand on the hip or hand up, and what I'm focusing on is maybe there's a string tied around my hips and it's just ever so slightly pulling me up, okay? Nice and controlled up and down movement for 30 seconds, all right? Ready? Here we go. Again, making sure that shoulder is over the elbow or the hands here. It's a very tiny movement, but trust me, you are feeling it. We're over halfway done on this side. Good. You know it's tough when I check my watch multiple times. And release. Good. I'm going to switch my chair, because now we get to do the other side. So setting up again, 30 seconds on this side, splitting the stance, shoulder over elbow, small movement. Ready? Let's go. That string is just ever so slightly pulling my hips up and down. It's a nice controlled movement. Really feeling the work here, isolated. We're a little over halfway done. Good. Making sure that the belly button is still facing forward. You're going to want to open up. Keep it isolated, keep that belly button facing forward. And just like that, we're done. Nice. We've got 2 more exercises. So for this one, focusing on keeping the upper half really quiet, really still, and it's really only our legs, so from the waist down, that are doing any sort of movement on this one. This can be a little straining on the hip flexors for this one. So if you need to do this down on the knees, that's totally okay. I will demonstrate from the floor, right? And I'll show you up off the knees and one on the knees. So for this one, I'll go elbow plank. Remember, shoulders away from ears. And we're just moving our feet laterally, all right? So I'm just tapping to the sides, all right? If I'm down on the knees, I'm going to pick up one leg and tap, replace, pick up the other, tap, and replace. All right? Really focus on trying to keep the hips nice and even, all right? This one's all about control, all right? 30 seconds, moving the legs laterally, so tapping and replacing those feet. 30 seconds, ready? Here we go. Good. These are not easy. It may not seem like you're moving your legs much, but just that finite movement, and you're drawing a lot of work into the core, the lower abs, and the hip flexors. And release. Good. We've got one more variation to complete our workout. And this one is a reverse plank. All right? So showing you from the floor, we're not face down for this one, we're reverse. So same kind of options apply in terms of hand placement. If you want to do straight arm, then your hands are narrow to your body, still directly under the shoulder. All right, legs are straight out. I'm opening up the chest and I'm lifting the hips and I'm holding, okay? So I press the heels of my hands in. I've got a proud chest, I'm lifting my hips high. All right, same thing if I want to do that down on the elbows, all right? I just make sure that my elbows are under shoulders. Obviously, I'm not lifting quite as high, but the work is still there, right? And you can still do this on a chair as well, okay? You would just place your hands on the chair or your elbows on the chair and lift and extend the hips from there. We've got 30 seconds of work, and then we're done. I'm gonna go straight arm on this one, placing your hands, and let's go. So again, keeping the hips held high, chest is open, really focusing on keeping the shoulders away from the ears because you're going to want to kind of sink down and cheat. So keep the shoulders and chest open and the hips high. Also remembering to breathe. That's always good. Hey, look at that. And go ahead and lower. That's pretty uncanny, really. I looked at my watch at like 30.06, so yay. All right, so for this, just a quick stretch and cool down. Let's place hands directly under shoulders. We're on the knees, pressing back into a child's pose, so bottom in between the heels, arms outstretched, forehead down to the ground. A few deep breaths here. Rising up. If you can, lay your hips down on the floor. Hands under shoulders, and we're going to press up, curl the toes, squeeze the glutes, and we're stretching out the core here. Good, looking up towards the ceiling. Nice. Pressing up to hands and knees again. Bring one leg through. Good. We're going to push the hips forward, and I'm actually going to have you turn in towards your knee for just a quick twist here. Stretching out the sides or the obliques. Good. And release. Going to switch sides. So other leg comes forward, press the hips forward, and then twisting over, using your elbow and knee together to deepen the twist. And release. So again, I'm Elsie Hedgespeth, and this was